They often speak of Paris in the most beautiful of terms. The city of light, the stage for love, a place where every street corner could be a scene from a romantic film. But that is the Paris of tourists, of dreamers, and of the fortunate. There is another Paris, a Paris hidden behind the velvet curtain of glamour. A Paris of small alleyways, where the golden streetlights are not strong enough to chase away the chill of reality, and the rain seems to tap out an endless, sorrowful rhythm on the rooftops. Our story begins in such a hidden corner of Paris. Here, a tiny bakery stood named Le Pain de Clara, Clara's bread. It was nestled in a row of old buildings, as quiet as a misplaced, somber note in the city's opulent symphony. People would say that every loaf baked there seemed to possess a soul, one that was strangely warm and gentle, because it was made by the hands of Clara, a girl with hazel eyes, clear yet always holding a distant sorrow. Fate had taken her parents from her early, leaving her with only a younger brother, Leo, and a family recipe book, its pages yellowed by time. Her mother once told her, "Clara, my dear, this recipe isn't just flour and yeast. It is love when you bake with. All your heart, the one who eats it will feel it." But cruel fate was not yet finished with the siblings. Leo, the boy who once shone like the morning sun, the brother she loved more than life itself, was left paralyzed from the waist down after a severe illness. From then on, Clara's world shrank. Leo's legs could no longer walk, so Clara vowed to become his legs, carrying his entire world on her shoulders. In their small town, the hope of a cure for Leo was nearly non-existent. And so, during one long sleepless night, staring at her sleeping brother and then at a brochure for a hospital in Paris, Clara made the most daring decision of her life. She sold the small house and bakery in her hometown, selling a sky full of memories to bring Leo to the capital. She told herself that in that place, miracles might exist. They arrived in Paris with two hopes: a better hospital for Leo and a small shop to sustain their lives. They rented a tiny storefront with a cramped attic apartment above, just big enough for the two of them to huddle together each night. From their single window, they could see the Eiffel Tower twinkling in the distance, but that light, it seemed, did not belong to them. It only served to highlight their own smallness, their own solitude in this vast, foreign city. Every morning, while Paris still slept, Clara was awake by the oven. Her hands moved swiftly, kneading the dough, shaping each loaf. The scent of butter, milk, and baked wheat would fill the small attic, becoming their only comfort and her silent promise to her brother. Leo would often sit in his wheelchair by the window, watching his sister in silence. He was once an active boy who loved to run. Now his world was that window and the stories his sister told him. His smile, however faint, was the only motivation. Clara had to fight through the exhausting daily grind, and then, into those gray days, Antoine arrived. He walked into her shop like a rare warm sunbeam piercing through the overcast Parisian sky. A polished gentleman with a radiant smile and expressive eyes. He told her he loved the taste of her bread, a taste so simple and honest, unlike the fancy pastries he was used to. And soon after, he told her he loved the soul of the one who baked it. For the first time since coming to Paris, Clara felt happy. They had afternoons strolling along the Seine, Antoine pushing Leo's wheelchair. He told her of his dreams and promised a future that included both her and Leo. "Don't worry, Clara," he'd said. "My parents will love you. Who wouldn't love a girl with a heart as warm and hands as talented as yours?" Clara believed him. She wove a beautiful dream from those promises, but perhaps in Paris, dreams are the easiest things to break. The day Antoine took Clara to meet his family was the day her dream shattered into 1,000 pieces. She had been so nervous. She had worn her best dress and had even baked a special brioche loaf as a gift. But the moment she stepped into their luxurious mansion, she felt out of place. The dinner proceeded in an atmosphere so tense it was suffocating. Antoine's parents, with words that were polite but laced with disdain, probed at her circumstances. A small bakery? How charming. What a lovely hobby, the father said, his eyes looking at her as if she were a cheap trinket. The mother feigned a sweeter interest, her voice like honey laced with poison. So, what are your long-term plans for your brother's situation? That must be quite an expense. Their every word was an invisible knife carving into Clara's self-worth. She looked down, her hands clenched tightly in her lap. She glanced at Antoine, pleading for his defense, for a reassuring touch, for even a flicker of empathy in his eyes, but there was nothing. Antoine remained silent. He sat there, calm and distant, his face a perfect mask of indifference. His silence was crueler than 1,000 insults. It was a cold wall, shutting her out of his world forever. That night, it rained in Paris. The rain seemed to cry for her. She left the mansion, refusing Antoine's offer of a ride. She wanted to walk. She wanted the rain to wash away the humiliation, to wash away the illusion of a love she once believed was real. She returned to the small attic, soaked to the bone. She thought her brother was fast asleep, but she was wrong. From behind the slightly ajar door, Leo had seen everything. The look of despair, the trembling shoulders of the sister he cherished most. He could feel her pain more acutely than the numbness in his own legs, and in the boy's young mind, a terrifying thought, as dark as the Parisian night, began to form. He looked down at his lifeless legs, and for the first time in his life, he saw himself as nothing but a burden. What is the true depth of despair? It is the moment you realize that your very existence is the source of pain for the one you love most. That night, in the small attic room, Leo tasted that feeling completely. Each of Clara's tears fell not just on her pillow, but like 1,000 needles into his young heart, a burden. That word, a single venomous word, carved a scar in his mind that could not heal. If not for him, she wouldn't have had to come to Paris. If not for him, she would have had a perfect love. If not for him, she would be happy. The logic of a wounded child can be both simple and cruel. To free his sister was to free himself. While Clara was lost in her own storm of sorrow, a faint sound broke the silence. A soft creak from Leo's room as the wheelchair moved, followed by an unnatural stillness. It was a sound that shouldn't have been. A sister's intuition, an invisible bond that connected their souls, screamed to Clara that something was terribly wrong. She shot up from her bed, her heart pounding, and ran to his room. The door swung open. The sight before her made the world stop. Leo had dragged his body from the wheelchair. He was on the floor, straining to reach an old woolen scarf that had been left on a low stool. His eyes were red, not from crying, but from a determination so absolute it was agonizing to behold. "Leo, don't!" Clara's scream tore through the night, a sound of pure terror. She lunged forward, gathering her brother's small, frail body in her arms, holding on as if she feared that letting go, even for a second, would mean he would vanish forever. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Leo, look at me." Her voice was a broken whisper. "You are not a burden. You have never been a burden. You are the reason I fight. You are my whole world. Without you, what would I live for? Leo, do you hear?" Mm-mm. The two siblings clung to each other, their sobs echoing in the small room. Tears of despair mingled with tears of fear, all of it washed in a boundless, desperate love. Outside, the storm finally broke, just as the tempest in their hearts began to subside. But it left a permanent change in Clara. The grief from her broken heart was replaced by a will of iron. She no longer cried for Antoine, no longer cursed her fate. Now she fought not just for hope, but for the very life of her brother. Her purpose was forged anew in the fires of that terrible night, and she began a new ritual dot at the end of each long day. After the last paying customer had gone, she would always keep a few of the final loaves. She didn't eat them, nor did she save them for the next day. She would take them outside, seeking the hidden corners of Paris, where the homeless huddled against the unforgiving cold. She would offer them the bread, still warm from the oven's dying heat, along with a gentle smile. She expected no thanks. She simply wanted to give. Perhaps she thought by giving away a little warmth, her own heart would feel less cold. This act became her silent defiance, a daily affirmation that no matter how cruel the world proved to be, she would still choose kindness. Time passed. Life remained a struggle, but the two siblings had found a quiet peace with each other. Their small world, built on love and the scent of baking bread, was enough until one winter evening. The wind was biting, carrying the sharp chill of Paris deep into one's bones. Clara was preparing to lock the shop when an old woman shuffled in. She looked utterly ordinary, with a worn-out coat, silver hair, and eyes clouded with exhaustion. She gazed at the empty bread trays and let out a soft, disappointed sigh. Seeing this, Clara smiled. She went into the back and retrieved a special loaf of bread she had baked just for herself, an experimental loaf made from her mother's secret recipe. It was the only one left. "Ma'am," Clara said softly, "the air is cold. Please take this to warm yourself. It is my gift to you." The old woman looked up, surprised. Her gaze moved from Clara's kind face to the bread in her hands. She did not refuse. She simply nodded, a strange light flickering in her tired eyes. "Thank you, you kind young lady." The old woman took the bread and walked slowly away, disappearing into the hurried twilight crowd. Clara watched her go, a sense of calm settling over her. She had no idea that the warm loaf of bread she had just given away would not only warm a stranger in the cold night, but was also the key that was about to unlock the door to her own destiny. They say that destiny is sometimes just a single encounter at the right moment with the right person. Clara, with her pure heart, never calculated such meetings. She continued to wake with the dawn, to bake her fragrant bread, and to give her last loaves to strangers. The memory of the old woman on that cold winter night slowly faded, just another quiet brushstroke in the vast painting of her life. But destiny, once it knocks, never arrives in silence. A few days later, on a beautiful morning, a sleek, black Citroën Classic and luxurious pulled up smoothly in front of Clara's tiny bakery. The sight was so unusual that every passerby had to stop and stare. The car door opened. The woman who stepped out was not the tired old woman in the worn-out coat. This was a grande dame. Her silver hair was styled in an elegant chignon. Her designer suit was exquisitely tailored. Above all, she carried an aura of power radiating from her sharp eyes, which still held a familiar trace of sadness. Clara was stunned. She recognized the woman. It was her. The lady stepped into the shop, and the small space seemed to instantly become more formal. She smiled softly. "Young lady, do you remember me?" Clara could only nod, too flustered to speak. The lady gently placed a small velvet box on the counter. Inside, a small piece of bread was carefully preserved. "This bread," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "It doesn't just have the taste of wheat and butter. It has the taste of memory, of sincerity. I have been searching for this taste for nearly 20 years. She explained that the recipe was almost identical to one her own late mother used to make, a recipe she thought was lost forever. But what made her return was more than just a recipe. "My name is Genevieve Dubois." The name struck Clara like a bolt of lightning. Genevieve Dubois, the Queen of Patisserie of France. the owner of the prestigious Le Rêve Sucre, the Sweet Dream chain. Clara couldn't believe her. Ears. Madame Dubois continued. I have tried bread from hundreds of bakeries in this city. Some are glamorous, some have perfect technique. But only here did I find something more precious than technique. I found a heart. I watched you for many days. I saw you give away your last bread without expecting anything in return. My dear girl, in this ruthless business world, talent is abundant, but a kind heart is exceptionally rare. She looked directly into Clara's eyes, her gaze both stern and warm. I am not giving you money. I am giving you a chance. I want to invest in your talent and in your heart. I want you to be my partner, to build a new brand together under the name Le Pain de Clara. Clara stood frozen. Tears began to stream down her face, but this time they were tears of joy, of overwhelming relief. But my brother, she stammered. Madame Dubois smiled gently, a smile that erased all worries. I know, and that is the second reason I am here. I know the best doctors in Paris. I will make the arrangements for Leo. You do not need to worry about the cost. In that moment, Clara knew that her and her brother's nightmare was finally over. The music swells, becoming triumphant and deeply emotional. 6 months later, the tiny old bakery was gone. Le Pain de Clara was now one of the most elegant and beloved bakeries in the Lomeray district. It was always bustling with customers who came not just to buy bread, but to find a piece of the warmth from its owner's story. Clara was now a beautiful, confident business owner, her eyes still shining with the same gentle kindness. In a state-of-the-art rehabilitation hospital, Leo was persistently taking his first steps with the help of advanced robotics and the country's best therapists. His legs were still weak, but the smile on his face was brighter than ever before. He had hope. He had a future. One afternoon, as the golden light of sunset fell over Paris, Antoine happened to walk past the new shop. He stood frozen as he saw Clara, radiant and successful, laughing with her customers. He saw the sleek car belonging to Madame Dubois waiting for her. A sense of regret so bitter it was suffocating rose within him. He once held that precious gem in his hands, and he was the one who had thrown it away. He could only turn and walk away, disappearing into the anonymous crowd, becoming a part of the past Clara had finally left behind. And so, in the heart of Paris, the story of the bread girl was no longer a whisper in the back alleys. It became a legend, a testament to an eternal truth. Kindness, like warm bread, when given at the right time, has the power to change a destiny. It not only warms the receiver, but it also illuminates the path for the one who gives. Magnificent Paris did not change Clara. Clara, with her kind heart, created her own Paris, a Paris of hope, of love, and of the sweet taste of what men call happiness.